Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek podcast. I am your host, Frank Hernandez, and we're discussing all things pests, and we're going to be discussing on this issue of the Pest Geek podcast, customer wow, being memorable. And we're going to be talking mostly to the technician here, not the marketing part, not the sales part, but the technician. As a technician, you are the face of the brand. You're what people sees. As far as what the company is in pest control is all by the technician. Yet, when I look at the industry, and I look at not only this industry, I'm talking about also every other service industry. I've been in several service industries, in IT, in lawn care, in installation of windows and doors and siding and decks, pool service, you name it. I've been in just about every service industry, and I've dealt with many different types of technicians throughout my life. And one of the things that I know is how technicians think. They think differently than salespeople. They tend to think differently than customer service people. They think differently than anybody else because they're usually technically minded. Technicians they're notoriously marketed as or known to be crabby. We did the job, we did the service, we're out of here. They don't tend to be particularly extroverted. They tend to be more introverted or more on the middle part. So they're not really very extroverted or very introverted. Most people that are technicians, and regardless whether you're in HVAC, whether you're in pest control, whether you're in plumbing, they don't tend to have, like most doctors, very good bedside manners, and social skills and communication skills. And I want to talk about it because I've been having conversations with people, regardless of where the industry's going. Is the industry dying? Are the people who are older in this industry basically what's left of 50 and 60-year-olds who have that old school mentality on customer service? What is happening? What's going to happen when we are just focused on now Generation I and most millennials who tend to have a big problem with communication and with being able to communicate effectively with an older generation? And it comes that we're going to have to do a lot more training. We're going to have to, if we've had this problem in the past, and now I've been in the service industry for way over 35 years, I've seen a lot of different changes, and we're going to have to do a lot more training. Reality is we got to do a lot more training in customer experience management than we have to do in actual pest management. Somebody mentioned in a group that, the reality is that the most technical skills a technician gets, it's in his first year, and then he really doesn't really grow much as an average technician for the next 30 years. And that is pretty much true for about every profession. Most of what people need, which is that 80-20 rule, to learn about what they're going to be doing, they're going to get it within the first few years. And then by year 6, they really are not learning really anything dramatically new. I mean, we're always learning something new. People are always growing. We're learning this little thing here and there. A new product comes out. We have to train on a new product. We have to read a new label. But for the most part, insect biology hasn't changed. Roach biology hasn't changed. Insect biology hasn't changed. Termite biology hasn't changed. So a lot of what happens doesn't really change in our industry. What changes is how we go about treating it with new products, new methods, to the point where, reality is most of the time, a technician doesn't have to step in that home for general pest control, ever. It's all exterior service. A lot of companies are still doing interior, exterior. They're struggling. I just had a conversation this morning with a business owner that is struggling because he can't figure out how to schedule everything in a city like Miami, who basically it takes 45 minutes to get anywhere, and customers, you're going to be in that part of town on Tuesdays. Customer wants it on a Thursday because you've sold an interior service forever. And me, I don't have that stress because I've never sold an interior service, only on an initial, only on callbacks. When a customer has a problem, I don't do termite. I don't do termite inspections. I don't do WDO inspections. I specialize in GHP and lawn and ornamental and mosquito control. We're an outdoor pest control company primarily. And I set it up that way by design. So I don't have the stresses that other people have. And I don't even have an issue when I'm selling the service to deal with that up front in the sales process and deal with all the pitfalls up front and decide and let the customer decide if they're a fit for us and if we're a fit for them. But I have the luxury of choosing that because I'm in a niche market and I'm in a large market. I have near perfect competition. You talk about where people talking about low ballers. We're full of low ballers. We've got over 200 companies here in Miami-Dade. Most of them are lowballing. And when I look at their prices online, we're probably still the single most expensive company in Miami-Dade. And my competition are all up there with me. The guys that I hang out with, they're right up there in their pricing. And we all have niche markets, and we're all doing fine. We're struggling in different areas because everybody's going to struggle in a different area, but we're dealing with that stuff. And so the memorable customer experience is what has, for a technician, he has to be able to understand. And when I talk to my new techs, for the first couple of months, they realize they came in this mentality, what pest control was, and now they have a totally different mentality. And they realize that 80% of their job where people complain is stuff they didn't do that has nothing to do with pest control. And developing those social skills and working on those social skills has been my biggest task, not teaching them pest control. Because they're wired mentally already to do some of this. That's why, they were attracted to this job offering. It is creating that memorable experience that they really have to work on, and 90% of the time it has nothing to do with the pest. As professional people, I try to teach my people here, you're here to protect people, pets, property, plants, and planet from pests with responsible pesticide use. We're an IPM company. We focus on IPM. We focus on educating the customer on how we reduce pesticide on their property so that we can wean them off. We can, at a period after 2 years, we're pretty much weaning most customers off of fungicides because we've inoculated the soil with beneficial bacteria, and we're introducing that into the environment to the point where our fungicide applications are very, very small compared to the rest of the industry. Our weed problems are managed because we help them control the cut and control the water. And we basically focus on the cultural aspect so that we can reduce our pesticide use by over 66% compared to the rest of the industry. This is how we're eco-friendly. Inside the home, we don't have to spray with anything ever. We never have. So these are the things that we're teaching people when they come into our business, and they come into they think they're going to be spraying stuff because they see a truck with a hose and reel outside. They've always seen the guy with the B&G come in. They think that's the business. And when I'm talking to people and owners and thinking why we can't attract good people, number one is people have the wrong concept of what pest control is. And one of my jobs on this Pest Geek podcast over the next couple of years that I'm planning out is to change the mentality of a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, about what pest control is, what real pest control is, what IPM is, how they achieve IPM, and that's reaching out also to the end user. See, if we don't talk to the end user in this new media age and we just keep it all in ourselves. There was just a great conference done here by the University of Florida where Bobby Corrigan came down, and I couldn't go. I was stuck with so much stuff that I need to do that I'm working on that I didn't have the time to go. And one of the guys made the comment. He says, I looked in the room and everybody in that room was in their 50s and 60s. There were no young people there. Are we going to have a problem getting young people in? Well, most of the time, those are business owners. They're individual guys. They're the owners of the company, and they're coming in to get the conference, and then they're going to teach it to their people. That's the hope. Hopefully, they're not one-man shows and then saying, I just came here because I wanted to meet Bobby Corrigan. But, the issue was, and what we're going after is, and to my point of, we got to bring in fresh people. We're bringing in fresh people who have a social media mindset. And this is a relational business where you have to be able to relate with people on their terms because you're on their property. And most of the people that are buying the products are usually not in your age group. They're usually right now 20, 30 years older than you. Different culture, different mentality, different demographics, different things that are not the same as the young people. My two techs right now, one is 35, the other one's 24. Okay, so can you get younger people in? Yes, you just have to know how to do it. And it has to do with your message, and it has to do with your attitude, and it has to do with how you're going to be. But this memorable experience is going to have to be constantly taught through skills training on the social skills aspect. What we got to realize is that pest control is a people business. It's not a product business. It's not a pesticide business. It's not a pest business. It's a people business. And we're dealing with people. And the problem is when you have 1/3 of the population that's afraid of pests, you're dealing with people now who have an emotional problem when they're dealing with their pest, and they're bringing in somebody into their home, and they have to be able to create a trust factor. When, as a salesperson, I say one thing, and my people go on the property and they say something else, the one that's going to be in doubt is them, automatically. Not me, because I'm the owner and I'm the salesperson. I'm the face of the company right now, and my customer is going to take my word over theirs. My question is, can we all speak the same language when we're dealing with people and communicating so that we're talking the same language and we're looking at the same things and there is no differences of opinion, so that there builds trust that the technician that's being sent is the expert on site? I tell my customers, and I need you to come over and you personally do it. I says, I don't do tech work anymore. That's not my job. I have people that I have trained. Yeah, but I want you. I says, you're not going to get me. I'm not coming over, and I don't do tech work. It's not going to happen. I train the people. I make the experts. I devote time to them. I invest a lot in my people. They're able to handle it. They're just not going to handle it the way I am talking to you about it and the way I express it to you. But they're going to solve that problem for you. And when they find out all the problems that happen during the year that they got to learn to undo in their personality, in their person, and change things about themselves, and I'm struggling with them constantly on this. Listen, it's not what you say, it's what you do. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's about the things that you didn't do that had nothing to do with pest control that the customer's always going to complain about. Why? Because I'm 12, 13 years ahead of you. I've already seen all these common, and they're always the same common 6, 7 things. So if you want to be the pest control technician that everybody wants in their home, and that they're going to recommend to their friends, and that you're going to grow in this new career, you have to really get good at working with people. Not knowing everything about how a B&G is put together, everything about the chemistry, everything about biology. That stuff is a given. That's the stuff you have to know as a professional. It is the social skills that you develop that's going to propel you to making you the best in the industry. Because there are people in this industry that couldn't kill a roach if they stepped on it. Yet people love them. And customers love them. And they're probably the worst technician ever. But people love them. And it makes up for that because they try really hard. So that you realize that your major work is working with people, not pests, not products. Not pesticides. It's people. You got to get good at developing your social skills. And we're going to be talking about these social skills that are being lost, that old timers just called garden variety courtesy. Simple things like being courteous. Yes, sir. No, sir. No, ma'am. People have this thing where they don't want to call anybody sir or ma'am because it's so archaic. And they're like, what is this calling people sir and people ma'am? If you learn to do that, and you learn to be courteous, where you say thank you, and please, and may I, you will find that your acceptance rate just went up by 800%. That your trustworthiness factor just rose. That we're going to respect you because you want respect. A lot of people want respect, but they're not giving it out in massive doses. Being courteous. Acknowledge people. I tell people, when you walk into that door, when you're going to go service that house, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go and I want you to ring that doorbell. I want you to knock on that door. Why? Because you can't. The biggest complaint I've gotten is the technician showed up and I want to make sure your guy's going to call me and he's going to tell me he's here or whatever, because the pool guy comes and he just walks in and does the job. The landscaper comes in and he does the job. And I don't know if my children are back there, who's being sent. I could be in my bathing suit or I can be naked in my pool. That's my prerogative. I just wanted you to know. And then when you start walking around a property and you don't even knock on the door, which people don't even do anymore, most people have a ring system that goes to their phone and they can see who's at the door that you showed up. Ring the doorbell. Acknowledge people. Hey, I'm here to do your pest control service. We're an exterior-only company. 90% of the time, we don't see anybody home when we're there. Nobody's ever there. So you acknowledge people. Hey, I'm here to do your service. I'm Frank with Nature Pest. I'm here to do your service. Be polite. Learning to be polite. A lot of people have a huge problem in being polite. They're rude. And they want to be successful in life being rude and not being courteous. Nobody opens the door for you anymore. I go to places here. Everywhere I go, I see somebody coming behind me. I just simply, an older person, and I just, a lady, I just open the door and I say, here, and I just open it. Most just walk right through and never even say thank you. 99% will never say that. It's almost like I deserve you opening the door for me. Does it stop you from opening the door and getting upset? No. Just things like that. Letting people in traffic, being courteous, not cutting people off. How you drive. You got to realize you're driving a billboard with your company name on it and the brand. There's a verse in scripture that I love, which is say a good name is better than gold and silver, than riches, in a lot of translations. That's branding 101. You are responsible for the good name of your company. If you're cutting people off in traffic and you're uncourteous, there's a phone number on that van. How many times have I seen a technician stick his hand out the window and flip me the bird? For whatever reason, because I didn't let him in or I didn't realize he was there. A lot of people here in Miami don't use their blinkers. They just want to get into your lane. Hey, you got to acknowledge that everybody's watching you. You have a uniform on. You're carrying a brand. You have an enormous amount of responsibility on you to protect that brand because that's your livelihood. And if you don't care about the brand, then it says you don't care about the company and you don't care about your job. You see, I got to reduce it to that because that's the reality. Being courteous, acknowledging people, being polite. Here's another one that it's a really tough one for a lot of this generation is making eye contact. You're talking to them, they're looking around, looking down. They can't make eye contact. They're not used to it. You got to literally teach people how to make eye contact. Look people in the eye. Tell them what you're going to tell them head on. Smile. You're not smiling when you're talking to people. You're going through the motions of telling them what the diagnosis is and not a smile. If you learn to smile, it's like medicine going down. The things that you have to say go down smoother because you're smiling. So you look at people in the eye and you say, listen, this is a big problem here, and you're smiling while you're telling them, listen, I need you to do a better job at cleaning this kitchen. We need to get this cleaned like this and like that because, if not, it's going to cost you 3 times more to solve your roach problem. See, I got to go to the pain points. I can solve this problem for you if this was clean in 2 shots. But because of the condition it's in, listen, this is going to take me 3 to 4 visits here. It's going to cost you a lot of money. If you could please do this for me. Remember, please, thank you, may I. Shake people's hand when you greet them. I know that you just walk in with your hands in your pocket or you have your hands by your side and people are reaching out their hands. And I got people that won't shake my hand when I come to the door. That's fine. I still put my hand out, shake their hand. 99% will, 1% won't, and that's okay. I get it. That's the way you are. I'll respect it. Most people have their hand already out, extended to me, and I got gloves on, and they're clean gloves, and I'll shake my hand because I say, hey, I got clean gloves. I just put brand new gloves on because I walk in the door with gloves on already. The first thing I do is pop them out of my truck, whatever. If I'm doing an inspection, it doesn't matter. It's just a force of habit to put gloves on. You got to go upstairs. You got to go in the rooms. May I go in the rooms? Can I please go in? I need to go and check in your bathrooms. Can I please look here? Can you please direct me? Why? You have no idea how many times I walked into a bedroom when I shouldn't have. and the customer told me, don't worry, there's nobody at home. You can just go right in. And I've gone in. I used to do for a hotel. And they said, here are the rooms that are empty. Just go right in and service the rooms. And they give me a pass key and I would go in and I walk in and they had rented that room out and didn't tell me. And boy, were they shocked and boy, was I shocked. Walked into a room, nobody's home. People are sleeping in there. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So always ask, may I please? Thank you for everything. Can I go upstairs? Don't just walk into people's home and walk around without asking. They know hey, but they know I'm there to do the service. I get it all the time. But what am I there for? You told them I had to service the bathroom, that you have to service the rooms. Still, it's a common courtesy. It's about being courteous, acknowledging, and being polite. And this is the stuff, that all the time that people have a negative experience, they never comment on, oh my gosh, the tech did a great job on this. It's always what they didn't do that had nothing to do with the service that always bites you in the butt. Like I said, always knock on the door before you're going to do service. All the time. Hey, your technician used my hose. I don't care that he used my hose, but he didn't put it back. Those are big pet peeves for people. You borrowing their stuff and not putting it back. Hey, can I please use your hose? I got to get about a gallon, to solve this problem. And I'm going to be using your hose. And then put it back. Make sure it's off. Make sure the water doesn't stay running and waste people's water. In some parts of the country, hey man, water is very expensive and people get really offended. Can I use your hose? May I please use your water if you have to use it? A lot of times the tank is at the end of the day and your tank is dry and you got one service and you went to do them the favor because they called and you're out of water and you got to use their water in order to service this because you're done. You're doing a big termite job. You only carry 100 gallons and you need more. It's got to be done. Gates and pets. Make sure you know that you always lock that gate and close that gate behind you. We do a lot of properties that people are just upset because you left the gate open. I always tell people, hey man, lock the gates. Hey, listen, when I'm on the truck, man, you walked out, you didn't shut the gate. I got the call from the client that you left the gate open. Make sure the gates are closed. Make sure that you close doors behind you if you're stepping outside. Don't leave people's doors open. Bugs get in. Flies get in. Their air conditioning. Close doors behind you when you leave. You got to come back in, knock again. Oh, but I'm going to come, knock again. They tell me, hey, I'm going to step out to the truck. I'm going to close the door. I'm going to just come back in. Is that okay? Communicate constantly with the customer. This is the biggest problem you have is miscommunication. The customer tell you, yeah, because I've got customers that have auto locks on their door. So now you're going to have to knock again because the door locks right behind you when you leave every time. They got little kiddie gates where the kids, you don't want their kids falling down the stairs because you left the gate open on the stairs. These are all the things that you're not thinking about as a new technician that you need to be thinking about. So protect the person's property from damage. Clean, protect, and put it away. If you got it, don't ever put anything on people's counters. You carry side pouches. You can put it on the floor. You put, how many times have I, when I was new, I would put the can and people were like, can you not put your can on top of my counter? I mean, I don't know where that can's been. They're right. They get offended by that. See, what's normal to you and what's acceptable to you is not acceptable to everyone. Your idea of clean and your idea of protection is not theirs. So you got to have protocols in place. Listen, I got to put, this equipment up on the counter. Do you have some paper or a box or cardboard or something? I just don't want to dirty your counter. Or carry something in your truck, that a mat or something that you put down. If you're going to put something on people's counter, you don't want to scratch, an expensive counter. Protect their surfaces. We require that everyone wear booties, no exceptions, in every home. Shoe covers, no exception, every home. You're not allowed to take your shoes off because if you have to apply a product that has to be applied that requires shoes, you violate the label. You take your shoes off in somebody's home and you can get into an accident, then you have a workman's comp claim. So we explain to the customers, we wear booties to protect your floors, none issue. It's funny how I got a review the other day from one of our techs, a customer, and it says, wow, they came into the home uniformed and they put on booties. They were blown away by that. People tell me all the time, oh, thank you for being considerate and wearing shoe covers. Thank you. We deal with very expensive home with white. I mean, I've got customers who have white carpeting in their bedrooms. White carpeting. Marble floors. They care about how their home looks. If you have to remove anything, may I please move this? May I please remove this? I need to move, we're going to have to move your stove. We're going to have to move the microwave. We're going to have to take this out of the way. Is that okay? Just that level of consideration is going to make you very memorable. Why? Because 99% of your competition isn't doing that. Whether it's the cable guy in their home, whether it's the landscaper, whether it's the pool guy, whether it's whoever is coming to do the work in their home. Guarantee you they're not doing it. And you're going to be memorable. You're the guy that did it. In communication, simple communication skills. The biggest problem that people have, and techs have, is they don't listen very well. They're not very good listeners. You need to learn to listen, not to respond, not to have this is where emotional intelligence takes place. You need to listen. I mean, we get accused of this all the time. We don't listen to our spouses. We don't listen. We're not very good at listening as men, period. If we're listening to give a response. Listen to the client. When I walk in, I ask, okay, so what have you been experiencing it? Where have you been experiencing it? How long have you been experiencing it? And I let them tell me the whole story. Why? They want to get that out. They want to know that they were heard, that you understood. And then I repeat it back to them. So what you're saying is that the roach problem started about 5 months ago, and you see mainly in the kitchen. You're not seeing it anywhere in the house. Is that correct? Okay. All right, we're going to start there. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to just look at other areas where we know they tend to go, and we're going to try to make sure that you don't have a problem there either. You see, now they feel understood and they feel listened to. You got to engage the client in that conversation. You can't just say, well, you called us for roaches. We already know what we're doing. You need to engage in that conversation. Listen, I'm here to do your service. Here's what you called about. Here's what's happening. Why? Because here's the biggest complaint people have. I already told the customer service person on the phone what I needed. Why are you asking me? If there's good communication and we've got a good CRM platform, the notes on what you discussed with that client should be in there. And the technician should be able to walk and say, I understand you called about roaches in the kitchen. Wow, that person is shocked that somebody actually heard them. I'm telling you, this stuff is so easy. It is stupid simple. And yet it is not practiced and is not done. You need to be able to relate to the client. You need to tone down the amount of pestinese that you talk and relate to the client on their level and explain, listen, I understand you got roaches here, and this problem is because of this, and this, and this, and relate on a human level. It is very difficult for a lot of iGeners and a lot of millennials to do this stuff. I'm telling you, the most time you're going to have to is on training is on these issues. Billing problems. Man, you billed me for the wrong amount. You billed me again, or you billed me. Man, keeping an eye on billing and making sure things. I mean, we just went this year through an entire process of switching, from one operating system over to Pest routes. That was a huge challenge for us. I was on top of that, making sure that all the data was accurate. Even after we put it in, I still find errors. And I know what it takes to do data migration because I did it for so long. I know where the pitfalls are, and the sooner you get into one piece of software that is you're going to stick with, because the last thing you want is when you're growing to have to do a data migration. I mean, I held off as long as I could because I wanted to make sure what I was going to buy, because everything that was out there at that time, I mean, we're talking since I did my last podcast on software, things have changed drastically, and we finally are able to get a lot of the things we wanted. But these companies that originally were going to do what they say, they still haven't even gotten there. And we were glad that we did not go with them. So in communication is listen, engage, and relate. Have empathy for people. Help them understand that you understand their pain. You understand that they're worried about their child. You understand that they're worried about their pet. And as the technician, you can stop 90+% of the calls that come in to the call center and create problems for your company by handling this stuff in the field first shot. The third thing that people in the industry constantly complain about, no matter what tech field you're in, this is not exclusive to pest control, guys. A lot of people think that what they're dealing with is only in their industry. It's not. This is a widespread problem in the tech field and any tech service industry, is responsiveness. Technicians are notoriously terrible at being responsive. Why? Because you're busy. You're doing the tech work. The customer is always going to call at the wrong time. Somebody's going to text you at the wrong time. The email is going to come in at the wrong time. When you have that flashlight in your hand and you're underneath a cabinet, here's what happens. You get the text, you don't respond to it. You finished the job, you got in your truck, and you moved on to the next stop. And 3 hours later, that person still hasn't heard from you because you forgot. Have an autoresponder and have something that it's going to trigger on your phone. Hey, I'm currently with a client. As soon as I'm off dealing with this, I'll give you a call right back. Nobody needs to wait 24 hours to get a response today for anything. Nobody has that patience. So responding effectively and quickly. If you are going to say, I'm going to come back next week and follow up on this, or I'm going to call you next week and follow up on this, you better do it. If you actually do it, people are horrified and shocked that you actually did it. Customer service is so bad in America right now, across the board, and getting worse, that those guys that do this stuff will outshine everybody else in their company, even if they're not the best technician. And then lastly, show up. Show up when you say you're going to show up. Call when you say you're going to call. Do what you say you're going to do. Just do it. Nike has it right. Just do it. Don't not do it. Do the things that you have to do and just do it. Eat those frogs, whatever it is. Why? Because customer satisfaction is your number one job. And what you think customer satisfaction is as a new technician, it's I killed their roaches. They have no ants. They have no roaches. What are they complaining about? Everything else you didn't do that they expected you to do. Customers today have high levels of expectations, and customer satisfaction is about customer experience now. Was the experience memorable from beginning to end? From the time the salesman that they made the call to the company and the CSR took their information down and the sales rep went out and did the sale and the service technician did the job and customer service then followed up. Was this flawless? Was this an orchestrated event? This is what people are expecting. This is the expectation nowadays. And if we and can I tell you, bro, when things get hairy around here, we don't always live up to that. But I get on that phone, I apologize, I say, I'm sorry, look, this happened, and we're gonna solve this, and here is how I'm solving it. Because everything doesn't go right all the time. That's just the biggest baloney I've ever heard. Oh, we don't have any customer service issues. Yeah, you do. We got plenty of them. As a growing company, when you're in growing pains, you're going to have problems. But if you keep your eye on these simple things, keep drilling this in to your people. Understand that it is not about how good of a technician you are, the technical abilities, because you might not learn anything new for 6 months to a year. It's how you're dealing with these customer service issues. In communication, there's no reason why there can't be an automated process to confirm appointments today. People want their appointment confirmed. So most software like ours, the day before, 2 days before, they get a notification, text and email. People appreciate the consideration that you're calling them when you're on your way, not just showing up. I tell the tech, call if you've got an appointment and we confirmed the appointment yesterday. and your appointment is for 3 o'clock this afternoon, you're responsible before you head on the route in the morning to pick up that phone and call that customer and confirm your appointment physically. If they don't respond, you need to send a text. And if they don't respond, you need to shoot them an email. This idea that I hear this all the time in groups and it drives me insane. We had an appointment. We notify them the day before. We show up to the appointment and they're not there. How long should I wait for them? That is your darn fault for not communicating with that customer early on during the day and letting them know, hey, I'm just confirming. Why? Because Sally went this morning to drop her kid off at school and all of a sudden they called 2 hours later that he's throwing up and she had to rush him to the doctor. She forgot that she had soccer practice in the afternoon and she booked it on the wrong date. People are extremely busy. People are doing more than ever. We all are. You call that customer. I tell them, I want you calling that before you get into your vehicle and drive off. I want you to confirm that appointment. When you're on your way. How many times have my text showed up and I said, bro, you need to call when you're on your way to confirm that they are actually home. You're not going to drive 30 to 45 minutes, but we had an appointment. You freaking millennial. Sometimes I get on their case and like, dude, that doesn't mean anything in this market. In this people, we are, Hispanics are with 65% Hispanic market. We're notorious for not showing up on time and not remembering anything. Because you remember, because you're on it, because this is the way you were raised, doesn't mean everybody else is. Let them know you're on your way. Give them an ETA. Say, listen, I'm on my way. My ETA is 45 minutes. My ETA is 30 minutes. Whatever it is. They appreciate it. They're expecting it. As a matter of fact, today people are expecting to be able to track the technician on their phone and say, yeah, I know where my technician is. And he's en route and I'm looking at him, and they expect that. And how many companies don't want that? But that's the reality of where you're going to have to move to. I would love for our software company to be able to provide that for our clients. That the client can go on the app, when the appointment, click it and say, I know where my technician is. He's around the corner. He actually is around the corner. He isn't lying to me. Oh, I'm 10 minutes out and he's 45 minutes out because he's running late. Transparency goes a long way. Notify when you're there. A lot of the time, people have special needs. Hey, listen, I'm at your house to do your service. I know you're not home or you're home, but is there anything that you're needing? A simple text. Some people are in court, they're busy, they're surgeons, they're doctors, they don't have time, but they will appreciate it. If they don't respond, that's not on you. You did your part. You did your due diligence. This is stuff that is so simple, yet so overlooked constantly because we're busy. I know what it's like to be. I was in a truck for, 9 years. I know exactly what this is like. Customer satisfaction is your number one job. Why? Because you have to drill into your people that lifetime value matters more than doing the service one time or having to go out. See, because a lot of the time, technicians don't do sales work. They don't know how much it costs to acquire a new customer. It is much cheaper for you to send that guy out, even if you know the client is wrong, and service the problem and appease the customer, than to try to go out and spend 10% on marketing and 25% on sales commission for a year to bring in a new customer. Customer retention is the technician's number one job, and customer satisfaction and lifetime value, to understand that. These are things that technicians don't understand about the business. That if the longer we keep that customer, the less harder we have to work And the longer that customer is with us, the more they build relationships, the better it is. These are the things that in communication they need to understand. It's very simple to call, to text, to email today. It costs virtually nothing to do that. It costs nothing to be courteous. It costs nothing to be considerate. It costs nothing to be polite. Those are things that don't cost you anything. And yet the return on investment of 0 is 100%. But it's easier said than done. I get it. Believe me, I get it. This is why so few people do it. Those that are able to do it will outshine everybody in their company. You know, I always hear technicians who will complain because they are the best technician. Man, I don't have any complaints about the service. You know, I don't have anything going on. You know, I'm the best technician. And yet I keep getting passed over for promotions. A lot of the time it has to do with your ability to lead, to manage, to communicate, to who can lead people better, not who can do the work better. Stop confusing being the best technician as being a good manager, a good leader, a good salesperson. A lot of the times you don't have the aptitude for it. But you can improve on all this and be way better next year than you were this year. Lawn signs, invoices, door signs. I mean, just putting a little note on the invoice. Hey, I was here. Thanks, Frank. You know, I saw this, you know, notes, communication. I tell people, you saw something on that property and yet you didn't note it. You didn't take a picture of it. How does the customer know? It's kind of like I have a cousin of mine who is an assistant police chief, and when he was an officer and he was a sergeant, and then he moved up, you know, he says, you know, I said, you know, how is it that you guys got to write so many tickets? And he says, look, here's the reality. If you're on the road and you're telling me you haven't seen a single infraction all day, you're lying. You see problems all the time. Take pictures of it. Email it to the customer. Attach it to the invoice. Make a note. Listen, there's a huge hole in your attic that you need to deal with, or mice are going to get through there. If you're doing your service, you should be able to find problems. And you should be able to have all these problems turn into upsells. Upselling is the single most revenue producing activity that any company can do to generate more revenue without having to get a new customer, because you're the expert on site. You're the technician on site. They're going to trust you more. And you can easily sell something to them than having another salesman come in and do it. In your communication, you need to learn to over-communicate. You're not communicating enough because you know why? You're coming in every month, every 2 months, every 3 months for most of the industry. You, as a technician, your customer doesn't have top of mind awareness of you or your company compared to the landscaper that comes every 2 weeks, compared to the pool guy that comes there monthly or weekly. You don't have top of mind awareness. So you have to be memorable in order for people to say, wow. You have to really go out of your way and communicate. A simple note, a simple email. Hey, I by the way, I found this. You know what? I found this ant trail that is really concerning. I put a follow-up for this for next week. I will be back out here next week to deal with that, just so you know that I'm on top of it. Guys say like, hey, I did the job. And what happened to that spot on the lawn? Why didn't you note that and tell the customer, listen, there was a spot on your lawn and I sprayed it and I'm going to follow up on this in 2 weeks. Now you prevent that call for, hey, your tech was here and he didn't see that spot on the lawn, and why is that spot still there? You see, you the customer doesn't know what we know. The customer doesn't know our business, doesn't know our procedures, doesn't know our protocols. By you communicating. You, the tech. How many times do I talk to companies? My tech, didn't write a darn thing on the report except the chemical used. Customers are calling all the time. Be memorable. One thing that we talk about communication and what we do, there are things that you don't want. Okay? You don't want to discuss certain things with clients. A lot of personal stuff. I know I got clients bring up topics that are very colorful, about the woman they're with, stuff like that. I mean, it's just crude stuff that I don't get involved in those conversations. Politics and religion. Unless there's that person intimately, I would be not engaging in that conversation. Be professional. I had one person call me the other day, but actually didn't call me, send me a message how he almost lost his job, almost lost an account because he was having a conversation on a campus. People today are very sensitive about everything. You're having an open conversation about something on a customer's property in a business. And somebody will complain about it and then complain to the manager and create a whole scene for you that you did not foresee, because that's the age that we're living in, where people are offended about everything. You're talking to a guy who pretty much offends a lot of people already by doing this podcast. You see? And a lot of the things that I talk about, people are not wanting to talk about. And, I get enough hate mail from a lot of people, because of what I do. But I understand that that's part of the game. That's part of what we have to do, and to do what we do. We're in a contentious business where people don't want the chemicals. They're anti everything, and we take a lot of heat for what we do. Fortunately, we're trying to always do what is right for clients and people in the environment, and do right by everyone, and be conscientious of that. So, guys, those are the things that, if you focus on, if your techs focus on this, that you can bring a wow customer experience every single time. If you are not good at this, get the books, get the training, listen to the stuff, watch the videos. You can go on YouTube and get 1 million customer service videos on how to, you literally don't have to pay for any of this training. The information is there for free. And here's the issue with free information, that you have to search for it. You have to know what you're looking for. Some people are going to need somebody to hold their hand and teach them this. Other people will go out and just, watch this video. I tell my people, hey, look, I got this great book. Listen to this book. You need to listen to this book as part of your working here with me. I'm grooming you for management. Whether it's customer management, route management, or other people management. I'm grooming my people for management because they got to manage. They got to manage a route. They're really route managers. They're not technicians. And this is an important thing that we have to understand, that it means a lot to people that they are in positions today. If you're going to attract younger people, if you're going to attract people that you need to do the work, they need to have those positions and the salary and the pay that goes along with the responsibility. Being customer-centric, customer-focused, and teaching people that, hey, understand that you're managing a small business. Literally, they have to be managers. They have to manage the inventory. They have to manage the truck. They have to manage the maintenance on their vehicle. They have to manage their time. They're managers. They're not technicians. And that's why I talk to people about them. Hire for aptitude, train for skills. And a lot of the things that I got people with the right heart, but they need a lot of training. And the things that they need training in really isn't pest control. It's in customer service. It's in understanding where the dynamics are and what's changing and what needs to be changed and where they're coming short, where they need to be better at all the time. 90% of the time, it isn't on bait placement. It isn't on liquid application. It's on the customer skills, the things customer are expecting that they don't see, and they don't understand why is this customer expecting this. It makes no sense to them. But yet, this is what the customer deems as important, not the major stuff. It's already a granted that if you're there to do pest control, they shouldn't have ants, they shouldn't have roaches, shouldn't have silverfish. That's what they're paying you for. It's the other stuff that brings the customer, the memorable experience to bear. And that's what you're going after. So I hope this has been helpful to you guys. I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.